Tonight, there is a new development in our investigation into the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. We've reported extensively on the death of 74-year-old retired pastor Lester Isbell. He died after Monroe County jailers held him for more than 9 hours in a restraint chair. The Monroe County DA tells us he's going to present that case to a grand jury as soon as tomorrow. Isbell's death is now classified as a homicide.
As 10 News Investigates has found, it's been a tumultuous year, and that includes the sheriff's office for reasons that go beyond the death of that pastor. Anchor Shay Smith and investigative reporter John North have been looking into your tips and also digging into other problems at the sheriff's office. And
Shay is joining us now. Let's begin with that federal lawsuit filed about the death of another man who had been in Monroe County custody. Shay?
Yeah, that's right. We have learned a couple of the deputies who were placed on paid leave for their role in Lester Isbell's intake are the same ones named in a federal lawsuit. Now, that lawsuit has been filed against Monroe County, multiple Monroe County deputies, jail medical directors, nurses, and the Sweetwater Hospital. The lawsuit alleges Joshua McCleary died at the Sweetwater Hospital after being in the Monroe County Justice Center for 4 days and never receiving his diabetes medication. McCleary was booked October 28th in 2022, and according to court documents, during his booking, he notified jail staff he was diabetic and taking medication. The lawsuit says still, jail staff failed to administer medication to keep McCleary alive. The suit says throughout the night of October 30th and into the morning of October 31st, McCleary asked for medical care but never received it. The documents allege personnel discussed his condition and lack of medication. The morning of the 31st, the lawsuit says correction officers took McCleary to the Sweetwater Hospital emergency room via a transport van. The suit says there were multiple significant delays in getting medical care for him. He ultimately became unresponsive and had no pulse. The correction officer and hospital staff tried to revive him, but McCleary ended up on life support until he was declared brain dead on November 3rd. His autopsy says he died from ketoacidosis and type 1 diabetes. This complaint is pending in federal court. The sheriff's office says since McCleary was not in their custody when he died, they did not conduct an investigation. One of the officers named in the McCleary lawsuit is Cody Harrell. She's also been charged in a separate criminal case alleging official misconduct and allowing contraband into the jail. Harrell was indicted this spring. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says they investigated multiple allegations dating back to 2022. Harrell is accused of bringing banned items into the Monroe County Jail and allowing others to bring in contraband. Her sheriff's personnel file shows she's been written up several times. In 2020, she was reprimanded for releasing an inmate out on bond when he was not supposed to get a bond. In January 2022, she was written up for allowing inmates to wander around. It says one inmate was even in booking property room unsupervised. At the time, she complained about the culture, writing, quote, "None of the higher-ups care how this jail is run, so why should I? Nobody gets in trouble for serious stuff. It gets overlooked." She got a 1-day suspension without pay and a 30-day probation. When I asked about her time with the office, the department told me she was disciplined in a way that aligned with their progressive discipline process. Public records obtained by 10 News also show Harrell tried to use her clothing allowance from the sheriff's office to buy crop tops and jumpsuits. Records we obtained show she spent some of her clothing allowance on items like vintage boho floral printed dresses. She also tried to buy matching lounge and beach vacation sets, finance department records state. When I asked if bohemian dresses were allowed as work clothing, the sheriff's office told me any items submitted for reimbursement are subject to approval by administration. These items were verified as appropriate dresses, which are permitted by reviewing the items online. Records we obtained show a sheriff's lieutenant, Talina Shaw, also tried to use her clothing allowance to buy cutoff jean shorts and t-shirts from Boot Barn. The paperwork shows the reimbursement request was denied. And WBIR learned just a couple days ago that Talina Shaw has abruptly quit the sheriff's office. Sources say she was close to Sheriff Tommy Jones. 3 other sheriff's personnel face criminal charges in separate cases. In June, the department fired corrections officer Josh Duncan in connection with an alleged contraband scheme at the jail. The sheriff's office says a Bible containing Suboxone was given to the transition coordinator to be given to a specific inmate. MCSO says 4 people, including Duncan, were involved, and the group had brought narcotics into the jail at least one other time. Last December, 2 former Monroe County deputies were arrested and indicted for official misconduct. The sheriff's office says Caleb Kirkland and Ava Hensley were employed there in 2022 but resigned during an investigation. The sheriff's office told me new guidelines have been implemented. All corrections personnel are subject to random body scans, pat-downs, no personal cell phones are allowed, and continuous updates and training as needed and or required. That's only some of what we've been looking into. Our reporting actually began in early spring. We told you about a Sweetwater veteran cleared of wrongdoing by the judicial system after being charged in a road rage shooting back in 2022 while driving through Monroe County. The sheriff's office charged him with aggravated assault, saying he'd shot a man on the highway. That turned out to be untrue. DA Stephen Hatchett dropped charges against Tyrone Ferguson, who had spent several days in jail and even had his case end in a mistrial. Medical records from the man who was shot show he had suffered, quote, accidental handgun discharge and malfunction. Now, lastly, WBIR is told state authorities have been looking into other questionable conduct by people tied to the sheriff's office. Of course, we'll be sure to keep following this story.
Shay, thank you.